evening. You're watching ARIRANG News at 8. Hope your week is off to a good start. It's Monday, February 17th here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I am Geunhye. We begin this evening with a landmark ruling in the country. Leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-ki has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for conspiring to topple the government by leading a pro-North Korea group. It's the first time a sitting member of parliament has been convicted of such a charge. Our Kwon Soa has our top story.
The verdict is in. Leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-ki of the Unified Progressive Party has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for plotting to overthrow the South Korean government and will also be stripped of holding public office for 10 years after his release from prison. The ruling handed down by the Suwon District Court said Lee violated the national security law and is guilty of leading a clandestine pro-North Korea group called the Revolutionary Organization, or RO, which was planning to blow up key infrastructure in South Korea in the event of an inter-Korean war. The court said it found pro-North Korea documents in Lee's possession and that he had previously sung North Korean military songs, both of which are prohibited under the South's national security law. Other members of the UPP who were on trial on similar charges were sentenced to 4 to 7 years in jail. Monday's decision follows an intensive investigation that included statements made by a whistleblower from the Revolutionary Organization. The court said the RO had been planning a rebellion since March and that it included an armed revolt in the capital Seoul. Both the ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition Democratic Party said they supported the verdict, while the UPP has criticized it, saying the judiciary gave in to pressure from the government. Lee is likely to appeal the case, and he continues to deny all the accusations against him. Speculation now surrounds how Monday's verdict might affect another decision currently pending at the Constitutional Court, that being the question of whether the Unified Progressive Party should be dissolved. Kwon Soa, ARIRANG News.
With just a few months to go until the June local elections, independent lawmaker Ahn Cheol-soo is putting the final touches on the launch of a new party next month. It has a name now, the New Political Vision Party, which matches his campaign to pursue new politics in Korea. Our Kim Young-gil has more.
Independent lawmaker Ahn Cheol-soo has taken another step toward launching his new party next month. On Monday, the party finally got a name that matches Ah's vision of shaking up Korean politics. It will be called the New Political Vision Party. The name was adopted at a meeting on Monday at the Kim-gu Museum and Library in Seoul, where the lawmaker outlined his vision for the party for the some 300 supporters in attendance.
We will work towards the idea of political unity through public participation. We will deliver hope to the people, not lies. We will reform politics and work in the interests of everyone.
Ahn and his supporters also established a central steering committee that will function as a decision-making body ahead of the party's launch next month. The committee will be chaired by Ahn, a former independent presidential candidate who entered the National Assembly in the April by-elections. Yoon Jang-hyun, the chairman of the party's preparatory committee, said the party will be the cornerstone of new politics in Korea.
The New Political Vision Party will embrace the ideologies of rational conservatives and introspective progressives. We urge the people to join us in paving a road to clean politics in Korea.
In the coming months, Ahn and his aides will work on ways to boost party membership nationwide ahead of the local elections in June. The New Political Vision Party plans to field candidates for key races in the local elections scheduled for June, which will likely spark a three-way race with the ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition Democratic Party. Kim Young-gil, ARIRANG News.
A bomb attack on a tourist bus near Egypt's border with Israel has killed 4 people, including 3 Koreans. The Egyptian government is investigating the incident, and Korea's foreign ministry dispatched a delegation to the site of the attack this Monday morning. Hwang Sung-hee has this report.
At least 4 people, including 3 Koreans, were killed Sunday after an explosion ripped through a tourist bus near a border crossing between Egypt and Israel. South Korea's foreign ministry confirmed that a Korean tourist, 2 Korean tour guides, and an Egyptian bus driver were killed in the explosion, while 12 tourists were wounded and are being treated at a nearby hospital. 15 survivors have crossed the border into Israel, accompanied by a South Korean embassy staff member. The bus was carrying 35 people who were waiting to cross the border to Israel after spending a night at Sinai, when an armed man suspected to be in his 20s threw a bomb at the bus. The Korean tourist group was reportedly on a 12-day pilgrimage that included stops in Turkey, Egypt, and Israel. The Egyptian government has declared the incident a terrorist attack and is investigating the case. The Israeli newspaper, The Times of Israel, reported Monday that an al-Qaeda-linked Islamist group has taken responsibility for the bombing on its Twitter account, promising to continue attacks on Egypt's economy, tourism, and military. Once a popular tourist destination, Sinai has been rocked by several attacks since the army ousted President Mohamed Morsi last July. Korea's foreign ministry dispatched a delegation to Egypt on Monday morning, and they will join officials from the Korean embassies in Egypt and Israel at the site of the attack. The ministry also set up a task force and held an emergency meeting shortly after the incident was reported to come up with countermeasures. The ministry has issued a special travel warning for Egypt, practically banning Koreans from visiting the region, and has asked Koreans traveling in Egypt and its four neighboring countries, Israel, Jordan, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia, to return as soon as possible. 황성희, 아리랑 뉴스.
We have only 3 days to go until the start of cross-border family reunions. While final preparations are well underway at the venue up in the north, Seoul's Unification Ministry said it has no plans to provide aid to Pyongyang in connection with the event. Connie Kim reports.
South Korea's Unification Ministry said Monday the government has no immediate plans to provide food or fertilizer aid to North Korea in connection with an upcoming round of reunions for families separated since the Korean War. A Unification Ministry spokesperson made the statement Monday, 3 days before the first reunions for the families in more than 3 years.
Currently, the government is not considering rice and fertilizer aid for North Korea in connection with the family reunions.
Kim did not rule out the possibility of the South sending aid, but said that will depend on the state of inter-Korean relations in the coming months. Meanwhile, a 15-member delegation from South Korea comprising Unification Ministry officials and members of the Red Cross arrived at the reunion venue on Mount Keungang in the north over the weekend to fine-tune the details before the reunions start on Thursday. For the organizers, the weather is the main concern. Although snowplows have removed most of the 2 meters of snow that fell at Mount Keungang last week, forecasters have issued a preliminary warning for another snowstorm this week. To ensure the reunion site is accessible, the Unification Ministry has deployed 15 heavy-duty snow removal vehicles to the site. Millions of Koreans were separated by the Korean War more than 6 decades ago, and some 70,000 South Koreans are waiting to see their loved ones. 83 of them will have an opportunity to reunite with relatives living in the north on the first round of the 6-day event. On the second round, 88 North Koreans will reunite with family members from the south. The reunions are a symbolic step forward in inter-Korean relations, as this is the first such event in over 3 years. The North canceled a round of family reunions last September, just days before the event was scheduled to begin. Connie Kim, 아리랑 뉴스.
From starvation and executions to abductions, such is the dire human rights situation in North Korea, and the suffering of its people has drawn the attention of the international community, including the United Nations. Well, on this Monday in Geneva, the UN Commission of Inquiry on the human rights situation in the North is set to submit its findings. For more on the highest profile international attempt to investigate violations in the world's most isolated nation, we go one-on-one with Dr. Hong Sung-pil, Professor of Law at Geunhye University. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good to see you. Okay.
Professor Ha, we hear that the report is expected to be one of the most detailed and one of the most devastating ever published by the UN. What will be included in this report, and what will be the possible ramifications?
Well, actually, first of all, it's not just the paperwork on the table. I mean, it includes all the public results of the public hearings that has been done about a year, 11 months, and it's a very complicated report, 372 pages, and for the last 10 years, UN special reporters for North Korean human rights situation have published numerous reports, but not as comprehensive as this one. And I think the recommendation part bears attention very specifically, because it says that what is being done in the North Korea constitutes crimes against humanity. And the crimes against humanity were applied to only extreme situations like Holocaust, and the Japanese were criminals at the time of Second World War. So now international community, United Nations gives focus on what's being done in the political prisoners camps in North Korea and other types of egregious violations of human rights. And those things constitute something like criminal crimes against humanity. And as a result, it also recommends that these things should be put to justice by referral, by being referred to International Criminal Court or other competent national judicial organs as well.
I see. Well, according to the leaked information, it's not confirmed yet, but the Commission is very likely to propose that the culprits behind the human rights violations in North Korea be referred to the International Criminal Court. Now, but we know that North Korea continues to deny the claims, and China is also taking signs of North Korea. Will they go through despite such hurdles?
Well, to reiterate, it's quite important that now the United Nations, the Commission of Inquiry, it's an authoritative organ of the United Nations, although it's not a judicial institution. But its findings of law bears a lot of ramifications for future works. And so now UN sees it as a crime against humanity. And so the next step should be giving justice to those responsible for these atrocities. And one venue is International Criminal Court, definitely. But in order for things to be put to justice by the International Criminal Court, the signing countries should consent to the submission. In this case, North Korea. And North Korea is not a party to this ICC, and China as well. But and one big chance is that United Nations Security Council has a discretion to put these types of matters to International Criminal Court unilaterally. But the permanent members of the Council have a right of veto, and China has one too. But now, because the international community and its Commission of Inquiry has formally established that crime against humanity was done and is being done right now, even China would be put to a lot of big international pressure to take more positive steps. And actually, that's one of the reasons why China was kind of silent when the United Nations decided to establish a Commission of Inquiry a year ago.
I see, that certainly was the case. So while it's taken over 10 years of discussion for Korea's rival parties to near the passing of a North Korean Human Rights Act, in other countries like the U.S. and Japan have already legislated the bill. So why did it take such a long time for Korea to reach this stage?
Well, United States of America or Japan, actually, in the case of U.S., the U.S. passed a law in the year of 2004. So well, there has been a delay of over 10 years now. But well, personally, I think it's a pity that our National Assembly has failed to forge a consensus on how to deal with this case and this issue. But it seems that the opposition party puts more focus on improvement of lives and people's lives in North Korea, while the ruling Central Party puts focus on the improvement of civil and political rights. But in my view, what really counts and what should be taken care of in the first place is the right to life and the basic forms of human living, actually. And the political prisoners camps, I think that's one of the center issue of what North Korean human rights situation is for. So, and well, there's another thing which is included in the bill is the establishment of the Human Rights Record Center about North Korea. And then it will serve as a sort of preparation for the transnational justice in the integration scenario of the Korean Peninsula. But now, because COI has established its findings that Korea will have better position in terms of setting up normative standard and in the case of Korean unification as well.
Okay, so will North Korea Human Rights Act get a green light this time around at the National Assembly? And if they do, what impact could this have on North Korea?
I think we have a biggest chance this time because now there seems to be quite consensus that something has to be done and something has to be said in the name of Korean National Assembly. And now we have a COI finding, so it is time to make something and say something on it and formally establish our positions. And so in order to show the international community that now we have a consensus about North Korean human rights situation and now we are ready to do things to make redress for these situations as well.
It certainly is a high time to do so. Thank you very much, Professor Hong, for joining us this evening.
My pleasure as well.
Touch base with journalists, experts, and analysts who are taking the pulse of Asia's heartbeat.
South Korea's defense minister.
In a lively half hour, join ARIRANG's Geunhye for the day's top stories, current affairs, business, technology trends, plus global weather forecasts and more. ARIRANG News. Every weeknight, live on ARIRANG TV.
At the nation's top office, President Park Geun-hye has ordered her government to ensure the nation's broadcasting industry is not monopolized by large enterprises. Now, speaking during a status report by the Ministry of Science, ICT and Future Planning and the Korea Communications Commission on Monday, the president pointed out that small and mid-sized companies are losing their share of the broadcasting market because conglomerates have started expanding their influence in the industry by increasing the number of TV channels their own. She expressed concern that such a trend could be detrimental to broadcasting content and decrease variety. The president urged officials to come up with balanced politics as the broadcasting and communication services sector has a great influence on the economy and people's daily lives. Starting this Monday, 3 of the nation's largest credit card firms closed their doors for 3 months as punishment for the massive leak of millions of customers' financial data. The Financial Services Commission says KB Financial Group, Dongyup Financial Group, and retailer Lotte Group have been banned from issuing new cards or extending loans until May 16th. Now, 3 firms estimated the business suspension will cost them a combined $1.9 billion in lost business. Tens of millions of cardholders were affected by last month's breach, the largest in the country's history. And moving now to yet another disastrous oil spill down south of the peninsula, this time in waters off the port city of Busan. Well over 200,000 liters of oil leaked into the water after a freighter collided with an oil tanker on Saturday. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
237,000 liters. That's how much oil officials say gushed into the sea after a Liberian-registered freighter collided with an oil tanker on Saturday. The amount of oil spilled is over 70,000 liters more than during another oil spill in Yeosu last month. Over the weekend, the Coast Guard managed to place a 500-meter-long oil fence around the main spill to try and contain it, and chemical dispersants are being sprayed onto it. The police said they succeeded in sealing off the hull in the vessel 3 hours after the collision. The only positive news thus far is that no oil has been found near the seashore yet, and no cases of contamination damage have been reported. There are, however, concerns fish farms about 5 kilometers from the spill could become contaminated. The Maritime Police say it'll take about 4 days of cleanup work to prevent any secondary damage.
We have 70 vessels deployed to contain the spill, including response vessels. The cleanup work is expected to take a few more days.
The Korea Coast Guard suspects poor weather conditions and high waves to be the main cause of the crash. But the Maritime Police say they'll launch a probe to determine the exact cause of the accident as soon as the cleanup work is finished. Kim Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News.
officially entered week 2 of the Sochi Olympics. There are no new medals to celebrate for Team Korea yet, but Team Russia is in a jovial mood thanks to a former Korean speed skater. We have more on that with our Connie Lee, who's standing by at the news center with some of the top events from Sochi. Connie, let's start with how Team Korea is doing.
Well, GA, just a few hours ago, the Korean women's curling team actually beat Team USA 11-2.
That certainly is good news. Does the women's team have a chance for a medal then?
Well, actually, the team is barely staying alive. Well, the Korean team will now have to beat undefeated Canada, and other countries will have to lose their remaining matches for Team Korea to reach the semifinals. Now, the match between Korea and Canada will start at midnight today. So we have a unique case of a former Korean athlete who has now turned into a Russian star. Yes, I'm talking about Victor An, or An Hyun-soo, as he's known here in Korea. In his Russian uniforms, he won an Olympic gold medal on Saturday in the men's 1,000 meter, and now he's being hailed as a national hero in Russia. He also won a bronze in the men's 500 meter short track event last week. Now, the Korean-born An became a Russian citizen in 2011 after some injuries and a bitter falling out with Korean skating officials, even though he had won 3 gold medals and a bronze for Korea in the 2006 Winter Olympics. Now, following his latest win, An said he has no regrets about changing allegiances. And if you're a fan of the figure skating short program like I am, you might be excited to know that the schedule is out, so we now know who will perform when. Defending Olympic champion and Korea's own ice queen, Kim Yeon-ah, will skate 17th out of the 30 contenders in the short program on Thursday at Sochi. Now, Kim's main competition for the gold this year is Russia's new young star, 15-year-old Yulia Lipnitskaya. Now, she will go 25th, and Japan's Mao Asada, another contender for the gold, will go last at 30th. Now let's take a quick look at the medal standings on week 2 at the Sochi Olympics. We have Germany on top with 7 gold medals. Now the Netherlands comes in at second with 5 gold medals, but with the most number of medals at 17. And then Norway in 4th and Russia rounding out the top 5. Now Korea here is down at the bottom, in the top 20 at least, ranking 17th with 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. All of these medals coming from the short track and speed skating events. And Team Korea fans, if you're looking to an event to watch today, there is the bobsleigh event tonight at 11:30 Korea time. Now, the final 2 races of the 2-man bobsleigh event will feature 2 Korean teams. Ranking 19th is Won Yun-jong and Seo Young-woo. We also have ranked 25th Kim Dong-hyun with Chun Chung-rin. Now, the combined time after all the 4 races will determine the final standings. So, Team Korea fans, you can cheer for these 2 Korean teams. Now let's take a look at the rest of the schedule for today. That's all I have for you right now. From the Olympics, back to you, Geunhye.
All right, thanks, Connie, for the wrap-up. We'll see you back with more updates on our primetime news at 10 p.m. Korea time. And time to get a check on the weather with our Kim Bo-kyung at the Weather Center. Bo-kyung, I understand that more snow is in the forecast for the East Coast regions?
That's right, Geunhye. Heavy snowfall advisories have been issued for the Gangwon-do province and the mountains of Jeju. Currently, those regions are seeing on and off snow showers due to westerly winds. And through tomorrow, the mountains of Jeju could get up to 30 centimeters of snow, and the Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-buk-do provinces 5 to 20 centimeters. This round of snow is forecast to continue through Thursday, so those in the east should gear up to prevent further damages. Other than that, Seoul is currently seeing about 3 times the normal levels of fine dust, so those with respiratory problems should take caution. Taking a look at tomorrow's readings, Seoul tops out at 7 degrees, meanwhile Daegu and Busan hit 6. As for other regions, well, it will be a cloudy day on Jeju, meanwhile Dokdo and Mount Kumgang peak at 1 and -9 degrees respectively. Well, that's all I have for you this hour, but I'll be back with more updates after 10.
And that's all the news we're following at this hour. I'm Yoo Ji-hae in Seoul. Thanks for watching.